The Magnificent Seven wasn't just another Western, it was a turning point. With a cast full of rising stars and unforgettable characters, the 1960 film reshaped the genre and left a legacy that still echoes today. But behind the scenes, each actor had a story, some inspiring, others heartbreaking. While a few became household names, others drifted into obscurity. Some lived long, celebrated lives. Others were gone far too soon. Today, we're revisiting the cast, then and now, to see how time changed them and how their legacies continue to live on. Yul Brynner, Chris Adams. Yul Brynner wasn't just the leader on screen, he was the soul of the Magnificent Seven. At 40, his commanding voice and trademark shaved head made Chris Adams a Western icon. Born in Russia and raised across Europe, Brynner had a presence that made him impossible to ignore. Off-screen, he was intensely private, yet deeply passionate about his craft. But behind the strong exterior was a long-time smoking habit that eventually caught up with him. In 1985, he passed away from lung cancer at age 65. Before his death, he recorded a stark public message urging viewers not to make the same mistake. "Now that I'm gone, don't smoke," he warned. It was a rare moment of vulnerability, and a final legacy from one of Hollywood's boldest stars. Steve McQueen, Vin Tanner. Steve McQueen was the rebel of the Seven, cool, sharp, and always on edge. At 30, he brought a quiet intensity to the role of Vin Tanner that often stole the spotlight. Behind the scenes, McQueen clashed with Yul Brynner over screen time, but that rivalry only added fuel to his performance. Born to a struggling single mother and shuffled through reform schools, McQueen fought for every inch of success he earned. But his fame came with a price. By the late 70s, he was battling a rare form of cancer linked to asbestos exposure. After an experimental surgery in Mexico, he died in 1980 at just 50 years old. Despite the early exit, McQueen's legend only grew. He didn't just act, he moved like a star, and the world never forgot it. Charles Bronson, Bernardo O'Reilly. Charles Bronson brought raw grit to the role of Bernardo O'Reilly, the quiet fighter with a soft spot for kids. At 39, he already looked like a man who had seen too much, and in real life, he had. Born into deep poverty as one of 15 children, Bronson worked in the coal mines as a teenager just to survive. That rough edge never left him, and it made him perfect for roles that demanded quiet strength. His career took off after the Magnificent Seven, turning him into one of the most bankable action stars of the 70s. But in his final years, Alzheimer's and declining health took a toll. Bronson passed away in 2003 at the age of 81. Tough to the very end, he never needed to say much to leave an unforgettable impression. James Coburn, Brit. James Coburn played Brit, the silent sharpshooter who let his knife do the talking. At 32, Coburn stood out with his lean frame, dry wit, and effortless cool. He brought a laid-back charisma that made even the quietest moments feel sharp. Off-screen, he battled a painful form of arthritis that nearly ended his career, leaving him out of the spotlight for years. But in the late 90s, he made a powerful comeback and won an Academy Award, proof that his talent never faded. In 2002, he passed away at age 74 from a heart attack at his Beverly Hills home. Coburn was never flashy, but when he showed up, you felt it, and that was his superpower. Robert Vaughn, Lee. Robert Vaughn brought a quiet, almost haunted energy to the role of Lee, the gunman grappling with his own fears. At just 28, he was the youngest of the seven, but carried himself with the weight of someone much older. Vaughn wasn't just a screen actor, he was also a scholar, eventually earning a PhD in communications. He balanced Hollywood fame with political activism, often speaking out on major issues of the day. As his film career cooled, he found new life in television, becoming a familiar face for decades. In 2016, he passed away from leukemia just shy of his 84th birthday. Always thoughtful, always sharp, Vaughn's legacy was built on brains as much as bravado. Brad Dexter, Harry Luck. Brad Dexter played Harry Luck, the gold-chasing gunman always looking for a payoff. At 43, he was the oldest member of the Seven and, for many fans, the most easily forgotten. But Dexter's real-life story was anything but ordinary. Off-screen, he was close friends with Frank Sinatra and once saved him from drowning, an act of heroism that earned him quiet respect in Hollywood circles. Though he never became a major star, he worked steadily behind the scenes, producing films and staying connected to the industry. Dexter passed away in 2002 at the age of 85 from emphysema. He may not have grabbed the spotlight, but he left behind a legacy of loyalty, grit, and one unforgettable rescue. Horst Buchholz, Chico. Horst Buchholz was the wild card, the fiery young gunslinger who brought restless energy to the group. At just 27, the German actor was a rising international star, often called the James Dean of Europe. As Chico, he added a youthful spark to the otherwise seasoned cast. But while the Magnificent Seven opened doors in Hollywood, Buchholz never fully broke through in the US. He returned to Europe, where he built a long and steady career in film and television. In 2003, he died at age 69 from pneumonia after complications from hip surgery. Though his time in the spotlight was brief, Buchholz gave the film a jolt of passion that still resonates decades later. Eli Wallach, Calvera. Eli Wallach wasn't one of the seven, but you'd be forgiven for thinking he was. As Calvera, the sly and charismatic bandit leader, Wallach brought a performance so sharp, it nearly upstaged the heroes. At 45, he was already a respected stage actor with a commanding presence and razor-sharp timing. He went on to become one of the most prolific character actors of his generation, known for stealing scenes in everything from westerns to dramas. Wallach continued working well into his 90s, with a career that spanned over 70 years. He passed away in 2014 at the age of 98 from natural causes. Even when playing the villain, Wallach left you smiling, and that's what made him unforgettable. While the seven heroes took center stage, the Magnificent Seven wouldn't have been the same without its supporting cast, each one adding heart, tension, or a touch of humanity to the film's dusty landscape. Their names may not have been in the spotlight, but their contributions were just as lasting. Rosenda Monteros, who played Petra, the young woman caught between fear and hope, added a rare softness to the story's otherwise rugged tone. At just 25, she held her own alongside a cast of veterans. She continued acting in Mexican cinema for decades and passed away in 2018 at the age of 83, remembered as a trailblazer for Latina actresses in international film. Vladimir Sokoloff, the actor behind the wise old man who inspires the villagers to fight back, was 70 when he took on the role. With a career that began in the silent film era, Sokoloff brought quiet dignity to the story. He died just 2 years later, in 1962, at age 72, leaving behind over 4 decades of work across 3 continents. Robert J. Wilke, who portrayed Wallace, was one of those actors you might not know by name but instantly recognize on screen. Known for playing villains in countless westerns, he had a long career in both film and television before passing away in 1989 at the age of 74. Rico Alaniz, who played Sotero, brought authenticity to the film with his grounded performance. Born in Mexico, Alaniz had a quiet but consistent career in Hollywood, often cast in supporting roles throughout the 1950s and 60s. He lived a long life and passed away in 2015 at the age of 95. And then there's Bing Russell, who played Robert. Though his role was small, his impact on Hollywood was generational, literally. Bing was the father of Kurt Russell, and his passion for acting was passed down. Beyond film, he was also deeply involved in baseball, even owning a minor league team. He passed away in 2003 at age 76. These weren't just background players, they were essential threads in a story that became legend. Their work may not have made headlines, but it helped turn the Magnificent Seven into a timeless classic. More than 6 decades later, the Magnificent Seven still stands tall, not just for its action or iconic score, but for the faces and stories behind each character. These actors weren't just playing heroes, they became legends, each on their own path. Some went on to change Hollywood, others quietly stepped away from the spotlight, and a few left behind final messages that still echo today. Together, they gave us more than a film, they gave us a moment in time that refuses to fade. So now that you've seen where the cast ended up, we want to hear from you. Which of these actors left the biggest impression on you? Let us know in the comments, and if you love classic Hollywood stories like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.